Well, good morning. It's Sunday morning, May 10th. And wow, I remember 2 months ago, I was looking into the future, trying to predict when we get back. And May 17th, next Sunday, that was my target date that I thought, for sure, we're going to be back by then. This is going to work. All the, worst predictions and stuff. It's like, gosh, who would have known? I can't believe we're, like I say, 1 week away from that, and I don't think it's going to happen March 17th. I hope so. I pray so. There is things, in the works in Sacramento and in churches all across the state that we're hoping to get that kind of status change. But maybe June 7th is a more realistic date to shoot for. Either way, we will be identifying that date, and when we know it, we will be letting everybody know via this format, YouTube services, also on Facebook, also on Instagram, and then I will encourage you to get out and tell everybody that you know, in case for those who haven't been digitally, surviving this with us. So, we're sure there's some are out there that aren't able to watch or don't know for whatever reason. So we'll just have to make sure and pass the word around at that time. It's soon now to begin that warm season for us, that hot time of year, summer. And with that, we can anticipate that that's going to help with our medical crisis. History is that those bugs don't do well in the heat. So, yay, even though we have to wait a long time for it, but this will end. We know it will. This stay at home will end, and we in the meantime just have to be wise and live wisely, and do what we can do to best protect everybody. Not just ourselves, but our families, our loved ones, and all those that we know. And we will continue on in this. Our businesses, our jobs, our lives will all begin again. Church fellowship, that thing that we took so for granted, meeting together, just enjoying one another's company, once a week. That's, we won't take that, lightly in the future. It's a great asset, and we should treasure that. We have to guard that. Certainly there are forces in the dark places of the world that do not want us fellowshipping together on Sundays. So we'll fight against those spiritual realms, and we'll get back together. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, let's enjoy Mother's Day. Mothers, we've targeted you all week because you are so special. You're such a key part of this. None of us would be here without you. We appreciate you and love you and your care and for us and your gifts. And let's begin by this little montage that's going on of Happy Mother's Day. Are you ready for what's next? Last week we talked about in church that a healthy church is, looks kind of like a hospital for human souls. There is a lot of healthy people that work in hospitals and that go through there, but the hospital itself is for the unhealthy, for the sick souls. Church likewise is for the lost. It's for the people looking for answers. It's for the people for looking how to know God and how to grow in His knowledge and will in their lives. So today I want us to consider, are you ready for what's next? We've had a 2-month break here it's hard to call it a break. It's been torture. It's been seclusion. It's been stay at home. But what are we getting ready for? There's got to be a purpose in this, and God is not going to waste it. He's going to do some great things. So what are we anticipating? What are you anticipating is next in your life, in your ministry, in your opportunities for God, in your business, in your family, in your purpose? What's next? Are you looking at starting over? Maybe your business is not going to make it through this, and you see that, and that's a hard reality, and you're getting ready to bury it. That's a difficult place to be. What are you anticipating this? Are you going to have to be rehiring all new people, retraining? What can you learn in that? What's the process? What if now that you're going to get to do it again? What to make it best? Maybe you're like my daughter. You have a career in a hair salon. They don't know when they're going to get to start up again. It may be months yet. They're stuck in a quandary. It may be scary wondering. Maybe, you're going through a future like that. Maybe you've been, pursuing, maybe looking at being a travel guide for a career. Well, that may or may not be good. Maybe you were looking at being a flight attendant or a pilot. Those careers are sure struggling right now and will be for a little bit. Maybe you've been considering aerospace. Maybe you need to consider microbiology. Where should you go? What should you prepare for? What's going to be next? What can I do now to prepare for what's next? Well, here's a sobering fact. Consider this statement. There is no true correlation between knowing what's next and succeeding in what's next. Now, at first thought, you may think, no, if I know what's next, I can succeed. But, well, consider this. We can't work forever. Our bodies are going to decay and get less strong. So eventually there's got to be some point in our lives where we quit working, at least at the rate that we have been and are. And our lives are not over. We're still going to have bills. We're still going to have needs. So we're going to need a pile of money, some type of income source to be able to continue on. Well, that's a reality. Everybody agrees with that. That's not questionable. It's just a matter of when and how long, and we don't know. But the truth is, only 16% of Americans today save more than 15% of their income. So people don't act like that's the truth. They know it to be true. So it is a reality that knowing what's next doesn't necessarily mean you'll succeed in what's next. You've got to do something to make a difference. So Jesus said in Matthew 7:24, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. James, Jesus' brother, said in 1:22, do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. What I want us to highlight here today, what I want us to really, consider and focus and think about is that it takes more than just seeking the truth, seeking information, seeking knowledge, seeking, the real truth. We've got to do something about that truth if our future is going to be affected. I was told when I was 21, when I just completed x-ray school and gotten a job in Lancaster as an x-ray tech, by my dad, that if I saved 10% of everything I made, that my future would be financially secure. That made sense to me, and I thought, well, that's simple, 10%, if I'm making big bucks now, so, 10% of that, I can live on 90% of that. Easy, right? Right. Except for I didn't respond to that knowledge. I just listened to it. It took me another decade or more before I started regularly saving for this future that is almost my present. That's the reality of it, is that knowing doesn't make the difference. Doing makes the difference. I knew well before I was 25. But I was much older than that before I started doing it. And one of the wisest people that ever lived, Solomon, said about this concept in Proverbs 27:12. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Wisdom in this simple proverb. Prudent or wise people connect the dots. They realize that our present becomes our past and eventually shows up again in our future. The prudent or wise people know that if you keep doing what you really want to do, you'll end up where you really didn't want to go. Prudent or wise or sensible people see danger when it's coming. So how can a wise person see danger that an unwise person cannot? Well, sociologists call this confirmation bias. We all have a confirmation bias, every single one of us. The wise just learn how to deal with it. But once we realize that confirmation bias that we have, then we can start acting wise. This confirmation bias is basically we're consistently looking for facts that confirm what we already believe. Simple example of today. Do you already believe that this whole COVID thing is really just a political gambit to wreck our economy? Well, if you believe that, then you're going to see what you were looking for. You're going to see facts that convinces you that that's what it is. You're going to hear things that you were listening for. You will filter out the opposing views or information that is opposite of what you want, what you're looking for. And this confirmation bias is a reality. We all do this. We all do. But the actions of a wise person is this. You look for facts that disagree with where you already wanted to go. That's what a wise person is. A wise person is willing and quick to acknowledge the things they don't want to hear. Then they evaluate that and respond accordingly. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the price. It can teach us a lot. Polio didn't go away for a long time. HIV was huge when I was working in the hospitals. Now you hardly ever hear about it at all. COVID, likewise, will not go away for a long time. But we can deal with it. We're learning how to deal with it now. We can carry on with our lives with COVID. We can be smart and live through this, and then when it's developed, we can take the antivirus and then we can watch COVID become this small glitch on the radar, this history, this bad past, this thing that's flared up somewhere here and there, but we'll get the antivirus to people. We can get back to work in the meantime. We need to. We can start enjoying church together. We need to, and we'll need to do that in a way that's smart, that can be effective. We can become a productive country again with more than 95% of our people working again as it was just 2 months ago. We can, but we're going to need to be smart. We need to be wise. We need to be prudent to get there, or we'll pay the penalty. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. This stay-at-home response has been effective. It's flattened the curve. Our hospitals they haven't been overrun by COVID patients like New York and Wuhan has. But this stay-at-home, response to this is not the same as taking refuge, as this scripture does. I've used this taking refuge. I've taught on it before. This take refuge looks much more like preparing for coming danger. That's wholly different than just stay at home and do nothing. A commander, in a military, as they're moving an RV, they'll send scouts out ahead. And these scouts' job is to look for danger, to look for the enemy, to look for something that's dangerous that's coming towards them. And if they see that, they turn around and hightail it back to the commander, and they fill him in on this danger that's coming. And then the commander relooks at the circumstances, he looks at his terrain, he looks at the information he has, and he makes the wise call. And that wise call may be, it may look like ordering all of his army to dig foxholes and bury themselves in and set up machine gun placements and put the artillery back over here and protect their supplies. And the truth is, the reality is, most soldiers, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to dig holes. It's rocky terrain. They don't want to set up machine gun things. They want to get to the goal of where they were heading. It's probably their next base. And they want to get there and settle in and relax. The wise commander knows it's the simple who keep going, and they will pay the penalty. But it's the wise person who changes their actions, who takes refuge. It's the very mature and the wise response to situation in our lives when we get information and change our actions to better prepare for the future, for the danger that's ahead. And it may not be the most popular thing, because more than likely it's not the most easy thing. Digging foxholes, that's a lot of work. Those have got to be deep holes. Most just want to get back to the base. They want to get where they're good. But the prudent see danger and take refuge. But the simple keep going and pay the penalty. The Message version of this reads this way. A prudent person sees trouble coming and ducks. A simpleton walks in blindly and is clobbered. We don't want to be clobbered by this. In our businesses, in our lives, in our churches, in our families, in our health, we do not want to be clobbered by this COVID virus. So we need to do something different. We already know that, that there's that no true correlation between knowing what's next and succeeding what's next. It takes more than just knowing. We got to do something. So if we decide to get wise and take refuge so we won't be clobbered, then these 4 words, I think, will become part of our lives. And the first is action. We're going to do something. Our life's going to look different after this than it did today, intentionally, purposefully. I have to not just talk about it. I got to do something. I need to pray about this, but I can't just pray about this. I got to pray about this, asking God for directions of something to do, and then do it. That eventually, when God shows me this reality of what He had me to do, I did it. It's the first time, and God doesn't have to tell me again. Do it again, because He told me, off we went. Action is one thing. Second thing is sacrifice. It will cost. If I choose to be wise in my future, it will require sacrifice, time, energy, effort, finances, whatever it will cost. Taking refuge requires a change of direction. For this army, instead of just heading on, plodding on, getting on, they got to stop, unpack, dig holes, rearrange, sort, put up defenses, build walls, build protections. It's a lot of work. And they're thinking, we're only so many miles away from home. Let's just get home. But, they could have been walking into a trap. No, it'll cost. And this third point is awkwardness. And action, sacrifice, awkwardness. If you choose to live wisely, as well, God will help you to do when you're asking him for it. And when you choose to step out in God's plan for your life, there's going to be people near you, close to you, maybe very dear to you, people who matter to you, that won't understand or agree with your response to what you're doing. It won't make sense to them. You're not responding the same way they are. So, you're not trying to make them look bad, are you? We're familiar with this response. But then, let's look at the big picture. A prudent person sees trouble coming and ducks. A simpleton walks in blindly and is clobbered. We're just praying and asking God to give us wisdom on how to respond. Then we need to sacrifice, do that action, get involved with it, and not all people are going to agree with us. So there's going to be some awkwardness. It's not our problem if other people just don't tend to agree. Sacrifice, awkwardness. That doesn't sound real good, does it? Those aren't words that are like, oh, I'm excited to do this. The fourth word is relief. Action, sacrifice, awkwardness, then comes relief. The truth is, there is no regrets of people who take refuge when the enemy comes running over the hill. That's the way it would be. Your soldiers, if you're the commander, your soldiers are going to be glad. They're in foxholes, locked and loaded, fully prepared when they see that enemy coming at them. If you're searching for God's purpose for you in this COVID crisis, you will not regret responding to God. You got plenty of time to seek and to pray and to search for his will, and when he gives it, respond to that great call. He is our greatest commander. He knows our future. He knows us and what we need to go through for the purposes that he has ordained. He knows what's best for each one of us, and he knows what each one of us are good at. Action, sacrifice, awkwardness, and then relief. That's the good feeling of having accomplished what God wanted you to do. Nobody regrets taking refuge when the enemy strikes. You will never regret responding to God's will for your life. I'm just telling you, it's a hard process, takes action, sacrifice, awkwardness, but you will never regret it. Pray this simple prayer with me, and I encourage you to pray it every day till this is over. God, please help me identify trouble or danger early. Give me the wisdom to know how to act, and then please help me with the courage to do the right thing day after day, in and out. It's awkward, it is, but we follow in you, and there is nothing like the relief of being in your will, knowing your plan for us. Thank you, Jesus. Glory to God. Let's worship one more song together. God.
star. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strange with him in the light of his glory and grace. His word shall not fail you, he promised. Believe him and all will be well. Then go to a world that is dying, his perfect salvation to tell. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strange again in the light of his glory and grace. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look for